Welcome to Radiant Realization with Namrata. Today I have with me C.S. Shrinivas. He is a learning process consultant for schools and study coach for high school students. He uses specific language patterns for teachers and parents to master learning techniques. Welcome, Srinivas. Today, It's my pleasure to have you today on my show.
Thank you.
I would like to know from you what got you started to build this entire teaching pattern module and help young students to become a better individual.
Amrita, my journey with children basically started even before I entered the education sector as a professional. In fact, it was a occasional program for me, even when I was working as a medical representative in a multinational company. And during that phase, I had also gotten into a youth leadership development organization. And one of the programs that I had designed for that organization, I had named it as Turning Point. Because way back, even at that time, I had realized that it is at the high school level that the mind frame, the emotional status, the attitudes, and the behaviors of children take a definite turn, either towards progress or towards disaster. So I had a fundamental concept called as life skills as given by the United Nations to be taught to children across the globe. And along with those 10 life skills given by the United Nations, I had also put in two more from my side, which is time management and leadership skills. And I had converted that into a program. And whenever we were free from our work, I used to visit high schools, talk to the school owners, and give it either as a one bit program or a complete program. This is how my journey had started. After I got out of my company in 2000, in the year 2000, obviously the next natural thing to move on was thinking about how I will convert my passion of talking to students as a profession of working with students and schools. So that is how this journey started.
Okay. What inspired you to create Leap Framework?
The inspiration basically was again high school children, where I have seen 24 years back when I started an academy professionally called as a Space Academy. When I started working with children, I used to see children who were failing in almost 6 subjects coming into the program. It was a way back at that time, it was a 40 days program, 40 full days, morning till evening, 40 days in the summer holidays. I used to see children coming at ninth standard level, almost failing in 6 subjects. And by the end of 40 days program, they used to go out in such a level that in 10th standard, they used to get distinction. So when I saw that there is already a potential in the child, which can be tapped and then nurtured and then helped to grow. This is what actually inspired me to continue with the program. Even though financially I did not make much at that point in time, but that passion, that transformation that I saw in the children was what kept me going. And then finally, this learn to leap as a methodology was brought up just after the pandemic.
Can you explain Leap Framework and Leap acronym?
Yeah, leap as an acronym, leap as a word, you already know what the word leap means. Take a very big jump, which most people are unaware that they can take such a big jump. Like this word actually hit me when I saw jaguar taking a jump from one bank of a small stream to another bank of the same stream. The jump was so big that nobody would ever imagine that it will reach the other place. So that is what, in fact, if you look at it, compared to the length of the jaguar, the width of the stream was almost 8 to 10 times the difference. And when the jaguar even took that leap, you would not imagine that it would reach that side. But it managed. That video stuck in my mind. And I correlated that to the transformation of children after they go through this program. That's how this thing called leap came up as a word. And then I designed that as an acronym. Once I went through one subconscious level program, learned one technique called as alphabet game in that program, and then started putting the children through that activity. That is where I saw acceleration of performance. Like if my children were taking about 6 months to 9 months time to get this transformation within themselves, after I started putting the children through this game called alphabet game, which is a subconscious level activity, I saw that the same transformation can happen within a period of 2 months time. So that is when I decided to coin something as an acronym. So that is how LEAP from word came up to LEAP as an acronym. LEAP in this acronym is Learning Enhancement for Accelerated Performance.
What
So
are the
the prerequisite there is, first you need to have the learning in a specific step-by-step method. And then to enhance that learning so that their performance is accelerated by the time they appear for the final board exam or whatever it is. So that is what is the acceleration. Learning enhancement is bringing up the quality of learning is learning enhancement. Okay. Compressing the time of that performance level is accelerated performance.
deep thought is being given to name this technique?
Yeah.
What are the core principles or framework around which this LEAP acronym is built on?
Oh, this indeed is a very powerful question, because when we talk of the core, I have always trusted, I have always believed, and I have always experienced in children and even in adults that point number one, I work on the principle that every child can learn in their own space, given their own pace. Okay. When they are given a safe space, they can learn, but they learn at their own pace until they get to a stage where the pace can be accelerated. This is one principle. Second principle is anything is a learnable skill. Anything. You learn one skill, you can learn any skill. Is another core principle. The third core principle that I bring into, in fact, I call this as the LP3 formula. I'll tell you the entire gist later after I go through the principles. The next principle is you can practice only what you have learned. You cannot practice anything other than what you have learned. This is another principle. The next one is you can prepare for something with only what you have practiced. And the last one is you can perform with something for which you have learned, practiced, and prepared. Performance can happen only in that. So LP3 for me is, this is the core principle of the whole program for me. Learn, practice, prepare, perform. Unfortunately, what happens in the schools, in the colleges, is they are forced to perform before they have actually learned something. So performance and appreciation, or underperformance and reprimand. This has taken precedence over the actual learning and practice process.
And how is this unique in the sense that other schools or education institutions are not following this framework?
See, most people do not get what they want simply because they don't know what they want. In schools, somehow we see that performance in exams and marks in the marks card is given more importance than the actual learning process in children. For the last 24 years, I have visited more than 400 schools across the country. And what I have seen is many children, even when they have entered high school, they are still not able to read a middle school book fluently, let alone getting to understand what is the concept. But still, we have seen that even such children have scored more than 90% marks in the exams. So while the building from outside is looking very beautiful and gorgeous, okay, somewhere the foundation stones are starting to shake the building from within. That is why they start struggling when they get into the professional sector, professional field, when they start to work on themselves, try to go up the ladder in the corporate or wherever, whatever is their profession. The point that I was trying to tell was, here what happens in schools is, for a child, the teacher asks something different. The parent asks something different. And the school owner asks something different. That's the reason why the child is able to either hoodwink or bypass all three of them. I tell them the parents only ask the marks always. The teacher continuously asks the child why they have not done the homework. And the school owner only asks the child why they have not paid the fees. So three different questions which the child is easily able to dodge. That's why they are not made to actually focus and concentrate on what they have to concentrate. In whichever school I have worked this program as an annual contract basis, I have ensured that all these three people ask the child the same question. How well are you able to read your textbook? Are you reading your textbook on a daily basis? Only these two questions asked by all the three. Now tell me, is there a way for the child to dodge these questions anyway? Not at all. So the child is automatically made to focus on those two questions and made to become good at that activity. That's how it is. That is the unique point in this program. You give a fundamental prerequisites, like there are about 6 prerequisites. I always talk before even the child gets to start studying. 6 different prerequisites. We need to make the child go through them first. Like for example, when I go to a high school and give my introductory session, I just ask them, how many of you know how to concentrate? Do you know, Namrata, how many hands come out for about 100? Not very many. Then when I ask them, how many times you hear people around you speaking the word learn to concentrate, you better focus, concentrate well, study well, all these things, then everybody's hands comes up. The
It's
point
coming
is
lots from pressure point of view. From
pressure. Yeah, yeah, pressure and also a threat and the consequences of that. And till date, barring, if I'm not wrong, just about 3 schools in my 24 years of experience. Just 3 schools have a period for teaching concentration to children, even though if it is weekly one period. So those are the prerequisites. Those are the fundamental building blocks, which I tell them. The first one is attention, focus, concentration, and observation. Unless the child is made to learn these 4 things in the same sequence. First you get attention, then you pay focus, then you make them concentrate, and then you make them observe things carefully. After this, interest in the subject, curiosity and interest. Then the previous knowledge of the same topic from the previous classes. Then a very good state of mind. Do you know, Namrata, when children sit to study, either at home or in school, how many children out of 100 do you think will sit to study in a very good state of mind?
I really don't think so, because if I have to go back to my school days,
Yeah, yeah.
whenever I studied out of lot of pressure to get
Okay.
good marks, or study because the next day tuition teacher is going to ask some
Yeah,
questions,
yeah, yeah,
or
yeah.
I have to score good grades, or
Yeah.
mother will ask like, what did you do?
Very true.
It was
Very
never
true.
coming out of my desire to learn the subject, to
Yeah.
understand the essence around that subject.
Right. Right. No. The other thing is you children might not be able to sit and study out of their own desire. But if you don't teach them how to get into a good state of mind before they start studying, like if you don't teach someone that the tawa should be nicely heated and well oiled before you put the dosa on that, okay, no amount of quality of the flour will make the dosa to come up without any resistance. The tawa should be well heated, well oiled. That is a prerequisite. That is what I give the metaphor for a good state of mind. The tawa should be prepared and you should have proper equipment. Only then the dosa will come up well. So that state of mind is another very powerful prerequisite. And the other very important one is having an effective feedback mechanism. Usually what I have seen in the name of feedback is putting your opinions onto people. Like what I have seen is if a child does not respond to someone properly for 2 to 3 days, the child is immediately given a particular label. Like a naughty boy, naughty girl, lazy boy, doesn't listen in the class, always makes noise, disturbs other people. All these labels are given, and then the children will start to learn to live based on the labels. I believe even you were probably given a label by some people, even in your childhood.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I
So,
was given lot
and
of labels.
yeah, and the beauty of our subconscious mind is our subconscious mind always dictates the conscious mind to live up to the label. So, this is especially true with slow learners. so-called slow learners. Whereas with my experience, I know very well that no child is a slow learner. That's why when I conduct teacher training programs, I tell the teachers that if hammer is the only tool that you have, everyone in front of you looks like a nail to you. If you have to really identify what am I looking at, like there might be some nails, there might be some screws, there might be some nuts and bolts. If you have to identify different types of things, you need to have different tools in your pocket. And if you have learned how to use those tools properly, that is when you start seeing, yes, this is a nail, I have to use the hammer. This is a screw, I have to use the screwdriver. Okay, this is a nut and bolt, I have to use this spanner. Yes, that is the thing.
Correct. So in your journey, you've experienced students who failed their examination in past academic year. When they came
Mhm.
under your guidance, you were able to ensure that they get good grades. So in this journey, how did you evaluate their needs? What was the area that child has to upgrade himself so they can become good marks students?
I have a methodology to actually identify their needs. I first ask them what are their wants, what do they want to become good at. Okay, so then they start writing down everything. They write down more than 30, 40 things. And then I bring that down to around 8 established challenges. Like if I can quickly put them out, I will put them as, after having worked with around more than 40,000 children now, there are only 8 to 9 categories of situations or challenges or problems, whatever you call, that these things fall into. One is sitting to study daily is a big challenge because most children don't find a context, though they have a lot of content. So I'll quickly go through them. Sitting to study, ability to concentrate on the activity, short-term memory, long-term memory, ability to recall at random or when demanded, then a proper handwriting, ability to frame their own sentences while writing or while speaking. That is the reason why most children memorize the answers as given either in the textbook or by the teachers as notes. Okay, so where were we? Ability to frame sentences, and then ability to remain stress free in the examination hall. Okay? Now I am coming from study room to the examination hall. And then two most beautiful things: the ability to complete the question paper. 99% of the children whom I meet confess to me that they have not completed question papers, means they have not written answers to all the questions in a given time frame for all the 6 or 8 subjects in one examination. And still they expect to get full marks. Then answering according to the question and answering to the point. This is another learnable skill. And last one is the exam tension. So every point that the children say can be brought into these categories. It will fall in any one or in the multiple. So once the children go through this, then we start working on those things. And very recently, I have started working corrective action programs in quadrant base. I base everything on a quadrants. Even in the PDF notes that I have sent you, you might have seen some alternate blank pages are in the form of quadrant. The entire page is a quadrant, right? So what I have seen is, especially at the high school level, if the child is underperforming, it is not because of the fact that they have not understood a subject. It is because of four different factors. So the first challenge that I put it under the category of language-based challenge. A child is weak in particular language. Suppose if it is English medium, English language, if the child is weak, the child is usually underperforming in all the subjects that the child writes the examination in English. It could be English, mathematics, science, social, or if these subjects are further divided. So first is language-based challenge. The second one, what I have seen is subject-based challenge. The child is unable to perform well in one or two particular subjects. Other subjects, it is doing very well. So this is another type. The third one is not properly observed and not properly related in most places is thoughts-based challenges. Many children start to believe certain things which are told to them by some other people. Like I have seen, the most common problem with children is, sir, my memory is poor. God knows, having 80 billion neurons in your body as well as brain, okay? If you say that your memory is poor, who has built that belief system into your subconscious mind is what I start thinking. That is a thoughts-based challenge. Like I am unable to study early in the morning. Or conversely, if you have to study well, you have to get up early in the morning. If you study more, you will get more marks. All these thoughts-based challenges. I've seen many children who are struggling with these challenges. In fact, if I have to give you an example, I've seen one parent insisting that the child study for 2 hours continuously, even though the child was capable of revising 4 lessons in half an hour at the 12th standard. Now tell me, why the hell should the child study for 2 hours continuously? So this is another challenge, thoughts based. And the last one, really critical, this is the quadrant I am now focusing on more, is the feelings based challenge. Like there is some traumatic incident which has disturbed a child's emotions sometime when the child was small. It could have happened right from kindergarten till 10th standard or even more than emotions. That emotion is now cropping up in the way of performance of the child. Okay, when it is coming to the board exam level. If I can give a very quick example, there was a child which was getting just about 48% marks in the preparatory examination. But when we looked at the child, we thought that this is more than 90% capable child. When we asked the school authorities, they told that, no, sir, this child has not scored more than 48% or 50% throughout, right from 4th standard onwards. But when we looked into the past of the child immediately told something that, sir, I have a stammering issue, which started sometime in my 3rd or 4th standard. Right from that issue, the child has not been able to perform. But after getting permission with a lot of convincing, after getting permission from the parent, we got rid of that stammering issue for the child. And next week, the child gave a 45-minute presentation of 3 lessons revision in the classroom. That was the first level of magic. And then do you know what? The child got 94% marks and stood second for the school.
Amazing, amazing.
This happened just about 3 years back. Even today, I was working with one child of 12th standard who had a huge emotional issue of somebody has put in the child's brain that you have to do medicine. Otherwise, your life is a waste. You are the first person in our family who will be doing medicine. Imagine the burden that is being put on the child's shoulders. When the child was unable to live up to that expectation, in the neat mock tests that are being done on a daily basis, which is a miserable scenario in colleges. Daily basis they do tests, which means you are forcing the child to run without ever getting convinced that the child is able to wear the shoes. Child is crying now. The child is saying that it no longer wants to go to the college.
Emotion.
So, so these four challenges. This is how we identify where the actual challenge lies and how to make that correction. And the beauty is in the Learn to Live program, as a course, it has been inbuilt into this program. We will help the children to go through all these four quadrants. That's why Learn to Live program is so effective. In fact, this program is so effective that 2 years back, when we brought this program into a school as a full phase, this is a 3-phase program. 3 days for initiating the program. Then after about 45 to 60 days, another 3 days for sitting with the children and having a conversation one-to-one with relation to this quadrant. That is where all the corrective action happens. And then after another phase of practice, immediately after the first preparatory exam, sometime when they have 45 to 60 days before the final exam, we get them into the next phase, which is the acceleration phase. This is the 3-phase program. We had a strength of 150 children in a school. This was in a sea-level town in Karnataka state. Before we started the program, around 30 to 35 children were actually failing in 3 to 4 subjects. And they were already in 10th standard. Because you have this dumb rule that you cannot fail the children and other things. I for once don't believe all those things. They were in that position, around 30 to 35. And there were about 20 A plus grade children. After the children went through this program, out of 150, we were able to get 150 out of 150 children cross the 60% mark. That is first class mark. 150 out
Amazing.
of 150 crossed the first class mark. The more pleasant news was that more than 50% of the children crossed 90% mark.
And they would be feeling so proud about themselves when they
Yeah,
got this.
you know what? The parents call and they say, you should come and have lunch with us, sir. You should come and have dinner with us, sir. Please come and stay in our house for 2 days. And the beauty is when I see these children teaching their own brothers, younger brother or younger sister, about what they have learned. So the Learn to Live course is so powerful that children automatically become teachers of the course if they have practiced it properly.
You are transforming lives of young minds. But in this process, what challenges were faced by you and your team to achieve this level of success?
Okay. This is what to say. What sort of question? Earlier, we did not know that we would face such challenges. After a few years, these challenges started cropping up more often. So now we began to recognize it consciously. First level challenge is at the teacher level. Now to overcome that teacher level challenge, what we have started doing is, we have first started taking the workshop to teachers. That is how we have overcome that challenge. The challenge that we faced at the teacher level was, children shifted their mindset to a different mode of teaching, whereas teachers were continuing to teach in the earlier mode of teaching. So the expectations and the outcomes were totally different. Like how I relate to this is, children have shifted to plowing the land using tractor. Okay. Whereas teachers are still trying to teach the children on how to plow the land using bullock. So obviously the expectations are different. If the children finish the plowing very quickly, they will ask, you have not plowed all the land. Earlier you used to do 8 hours. Now why did you come back in 2 hours? These were the type of challenges. The next was a challenge at the parents level. What was the challenge there? Earlier, the parents were used to actually talk to the children to sit and study. Now they no longer need to talk. That is where they were getting perturbed. See, when your pattern is being disturbed, you are not able to see the good thing in children, but you want to continue to use your pattern. That is where the communication used to create irritation, frustration, rejection, dejection, and all this. And then at the school management level, the challenges that we started facing was, very recently this year also we are facing that challenge in one school where we are doing this. The school management is bought to the fact that when the children are in 10th standard, 11th standard, or 12th standard, even Sundays, they should not be left alone. On a daily basis, there has to be special classes. Now they don't find the need for that. When we ask them to leave the children alone on Sundays, they will say, sir, if they forget. And the second point at the management level is, we have told them to get out of this regular tests and examination concept. There is a reason why the education sector has a concept of test and examination in a particular way, which is FA1, formative assessment 1, in about 45 to 50 days time, then formative assessment 2, then summative assessment, and then formative assessment 3, formative assessment 4, and summative assessment 2. This is the general formula which is used by the departments, whether it is state, CBSE, or ICS. But in most of the schools, what you have seen is, after every lesson is completed, there is a unit test done. I challenge that. If the children have become masters in preparing for that one lesson, then why do you need the children to prepare for the same lesson once again during the examination also? It is very obvious that without learning it properly, without practicing it properly, they have only performed just for the test. So when we ask the school owners and school principal and teachers to get rid of the unit test concept, we face a challenge. But now we have become very choosy. Okay, earlier to get some schools, we had no choice. We had to go to many schools. Now we as a team, I have a very small committed team of 4 people right now. And I am planning to expand that into a group of 30 people, right? This is what I am working on now. So now we have become choosy. We choose only those schools which get into this agreement with us that these steps will be followed. And that is how we have overcome these challenges.
Students were used to particular way of learning before they were introduced to learn to live methodology. So when they adopted this methodology, did they face any challenges in changing how they learn?
The first challenge they face is either inability or unwillingness to totally drop the earlier concept. Like I will come back once again to the same thing. Once they have learned how to drive a tractor and plow the field with the tractor, if they are unwilling or if they are unable to get out of the concept of plowing with bullocks because of their attachment to bullocks, not their attachment to plowing the land. Most children are attached to the bullocks, and their daily routine is feeding the bullocks, removing all the dung from the cottage of the bullocks, putting water into the water tank, all these regular routines, no? Whereas with the tractor, the routine changes, right? They need to drive, get diesel to the tractor, check the carburetor and all such stuff. So to readjust themselves to the redefined routine is the first level challenge that they will face. So unless both at the house and at the school level, the teachers are also tuned to this, it will remain a challenge. The second level challenge is when people who are sincerely implementing the refined and redefined routine, the peer pressure. Some students who are already good in studies, when they start mocking at children who are not very good in studies, but whom they know, they will come up now. Position threatened. There, that is the challenge. So these are the two main challenges that we have seen in children to adapt this procedure into their lifestyle. How to overcome that? It is simple. We always tell them, take massive action and then be consistent with the minimum level of action. So we teach them so many things that even if they learn to use a few of them, they will still get it. Like in focus and concentration, we teach them 6 different types of concentration techniques. Even if they use one of it, they will learn how to concentrate better.
I'd say the work that you're doing is really amazing and it's massively impacting young minds who are going to go out in world tomorrow and build a brighter India. Thank you so much for all that you're doing and thank you for coming and sharing your views today.
Thank you very much. And I sincerely appreciate the work that you are doing. I sincerely thank you for your work, and I wish that your work grows and impacts more people across the country and world.
Thank you for your blessings.
Yeah.